All right, welcome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us at our Watershed Wednesday program, sponsored by Clay Subaru of Norwood, Massachusetts. I'm Andres Ripley, NEPRA's Greenway and Natural Resource Specialist, and I will be your moderator today. The Neponset River Watershed Association is a small, nonprofit, member-supported group with a mission to protect the Neponset River, its tributaries, and surrounding watershed lands. Today's presentation will be by Shavel'le Olivier, who is the Executive Director of the Mattapan Food Fitness Coalition. She will be speaking about how neighborhood activism creates change in our communities. Shavel'le is a 2014 graduate from Boston College with a degree in marketing, management, and leadership. After graduating, she went on to become an AmeriCorps member, serving 1 year with the Local Initiatives Support Corporation and another year with the Massachusetts Mentoring Partnership. In 2019, she received her master's in nonprofit management with a concentration in organizational communications at Northeastern University and is now the executive director of the Mattapan Food Fitness Coalition. She also founded and organizes a major bike event called the Mattapan on Wheels that was created to address issues of safer infrastructure for cyclists and pedestrians in Mattapan. Take it away, Shavel'le.
Thank you, Andres. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all having a good afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can take you through what Mattapan Food Fitness is and our connection to the Neponset River Greenway Trail and the river as well. Just making sure everyone can see my screen. Not on PowerPoint style today because my computer is going a little bit slow, so that may drag it out. All right, so again, as Andre mentioned, I am Shavel'le. I am the executive director of Mattapan Food Fitness Coalition, which is a health and wellness organization that was founded in 2006 by a group of residents who are concerned about the health and wellness of the Mattapan residents. And that picture over there that you see is one of our farmers who's been with us for about 8 years. So a little bit more about myself. Again, a Mattapan resident. I am an introvert. I'm shy and friendly, and I'm dedicated. I love building relationships. I love to read, and I really like to do like low-key activities such as like going to movies or just hanging out with my sister. Right now, I live in Mattapan. I live with my dad, my stepmom, my 18-year-old brother who is really taller than me. He's 6'2", and I have 3 sisters. And that picture that you see over there is my twin sister. Andres already went over where it is that I attended school, but mostly Boston schools. And then I really have a passion for working with youth, transportation, and community. And so, as I mentioned before, Mattapan has one of the highest rates of obesity, hypertension, and diabetes. The Boston Public Health Commission ever so often puts out a Health of Boston report, and Mattapan continues to have the highest rates of these chronic diseases in the Boston area. And so again, that's the reason why Mattapan Food and Fitness was created. And so with our mission, we want to promote health and healthy behaviors by improving access to good nutritional food sources, as well as making sure that there's environments out there, man environments out there that people can partake in physical activity. And our work supports Mattapan residents, but of course, residents from Dorchester, Milton, everyone can partake in whatever it is that that we do. And so our vision is to transform Mattapan to make sure that it's one of the healthiest communities in Boston. We want to make sure that any food options that are out there, they're affordable and easy to access. And lastly, making sure that our streets are safe, walkable, and bikeable so people can get their physical activity in. And then with all that, bring it to these things so our residents can take advantage of the spaces that are out here right in their own community. So they don't have to go far out like to the Blue Hills or to Quincy or wherever those trails or good open spaces are. What's really, really unique about our organization is that we're women of color led. we're volunteer-led, and we're community-centered. And I'll go through like our staff really quickly. And so this is our leadership team. They live in Mattapan, High Park. One of us lives in Rosendale, but they are really closely connected to the Mattapan community and what it is that they do. Not only do they help support Mattapan Food and Fitness Coalition, they're either in neighborhood associations, they work in places at Mattapan. So we're deeply involved with the organization in the community as well. This is our staff so far. So it's just me. I have a youth coordinator as well as our project coordinator that takes on what it is that we do. And we want to make sure that we're hiring community residents because, again, we want to make sure that they're representative for the community that we serve and they know what it is that our community needs. And pre-COVID, so with our volunteer-led organization and the leadership team and our staff, we're able to serve 7,000 residents annually. Again, this is pre-COVID numbers. Right now it's a little bit less because people are being really cautious and safe right now. But 7,000 residents we serve annually through the many different projects in our focus areas, which I'll get to right after this slide. And so some accomplishments that we were able to accomplish during the time of Mattapan Food and Fitness Coalition and when we're existing and out there is advocating for the completion of the Mattapan portion of the Neponset River Green Rail Trail, working with Walk Boston to create wayfinding signs, creating the first farmers market in Mattapan. That was our first initiative back in 2007. And then becoming a local model for the Summer Eats Meal programs for libraries and farmers markets across Boston. And I have to give a shout out to Vicki Siggers. She's our farmers market manager. And she really worked with Project Bread on the Summer Eats Meal program to implement that back in 2017 at our farmers market and at the Mattapan Library. And again, that becoming a local model for all farmers markets and libraries throughout the summer. And so what are some of the activities that we do? How do we accomplish all of this? What are our volunteers volunteering for? What is our leadership team doing? So we have 5 focus areas: food access and nutrition, physical activity, youth development, built environment and community empowerment. And I'm more so going to talk about the built environment and community empowerment because that's where our connection to the Neponset River Green Rail Trail lies. And so with our built environment, we're advocating for more green spaces and open spaces. So any parks that are being developed, of course, in the Neponset River Green Rail Trail. And with our built environment piece, we attend meetings on the Fairmont Greenway. So that's following along the Indigo line that starts at Reedville and ends in South Boston, that abuts communities of color, that travels through, communities of color, and trying to get more parks and green spaces along that line. And then we also sit on and attend the Neponset River Greenway Council meetings that happens every first Wednesday in the month, if I'm not believe, and advocating again for the completion of the Neponset River Green Rail Trail. But now that that's done, now getting more people to get on it. So how do we make sure that we are bringing awareness to this trail to our Mattapan residents? So a couple of activities that we do is helping to create a site for the Neponset River Greenway cleanups when that happens, the creation of the walking path. And I will say these 2 things are community resident led with MFFC supporting that. Having an activity called Mattapan Walks, Mattapan on Wheels, and our youth leading Green and Blue Spaces project. So with the creation of the walking path, working really closely with the Edgewater Neighborhood Association. It's called Edgewater because they're close to the edge of the water being the Neponset River, And a lot of the residents who actually lived on our street didn't even know that the river was over there because there's a wall blocking it. And so now there's a community effort with that neighborhood association to lower the wall so people can see the river, to make cuts in the wall, because right now you can only get in one way, and if you walk all the way down, you can't get out. So there's more access to that river, and creating a walking path, the same way as in the Neponset River Greenway Trail path. With Mattapan Walks, that is a year-round initiative to try to get people to walk a lot. And of course, we highlighted the Neponset River Greenville Trail, making sure people knew that it was there and walking along that. The same thing as Mattapan on Wheels. So Mattapan on Wheels is a youth-led bike ride to raise awareness. Started with the intention to raise awareness to the city that Black and Brown people are biking here in Mattapan, and that we need some safe infrastructure and resources to make sure to keep us biking more. And when the trail opened back in 2017, of course, that ride that year was on the Neponset River Greenville Trail. So now some Mattapan residents know how to get from Mattapan to South Boston, or from Mattapan to Walston Beach through Milton. Very scary bike ride, but very scenic as well. And then the last thing that I mentioned, our youth are working with a professor at Northeastern on a green and blue spaces projects, which is really getting at them letting us know what spaces they go to when they're feeling down or when they need some space to relax, taking pictures of those. And then the result that we're trying to get is, yes, that even our youth need these green and blue spaces for their own social, emotional well-being. And here's that proof. And this is the way that we can advocate to make sure that we're getting more of those, or preserving the spaces here that we have in Mattapan. And so why are green and blue spaces such as the Neponset River Greenway trail, as well as the river itself, important to communities like Mattapan? And again, these are my thoughts. I'm pretty sure that if you ask someone else, they may have different things to say. But this is the reasons why I believe that this trail is very important to us. So it connects to our health and wellness, our emotional well-being, reconnecting with water and open spaces, as well as social well-being. I'm sorry, I don't know why my screen just did that there. And this is the part that I kind of prepared for, because I wanted to make sure that that I was hitting all the things that I wanted to say. And so that's why my screen is going a little smaller right now. But for a long time, Mattapan residents have not been able to connect with the river, with the Neponset River, with the Neponset River, because their trail wasn't completed in the Mattapan portion, or you have a wall that's hiding and blocking that view. And as a community that is largely made up of those from West Indian countries, such as Jamaica, Haiti, like, we're used to being near and in water. And so for 20 plus years, as most of you may know, community members and organizations in Mattapan have been fighting to have the trail be completed in Mattapan. And from my perspective, the completion of the Mattapan Trail, or the portion of the trail in Mattapan, wasn't completed due to biases and stereotypes of Mattapan residents by those who live in Milton, and of course, as well as funding. And the only reason why I bring that up is because it's a piece of Mattapan history, and so it's important to make sure that that part of the history isn't lost. But gratefully, the trail opened in 2017, and we're very excited about that because we knew what the benefits of that trail will hold. So now that I said, these are the benefits, this is why it's important, but also there's another place for people to get healthy exercise. They can walk, they can bike, they can skate. They have access to green spaces that's scenic and nice. I went out there this morning when I went to my dentist appointment, and yes, it was very cold, but just walking near that river and the colors and the contrast and the dead trees, it just felt very beautiful. Fresh, clean air. Don't know what the air quality is like, but at least it's not in your house, or like at least you're not walking on the sidewalk next to cars that are like zooming past you and you're getting the smoke from the gas in your nose. Like, you're on a beautiful trail and it's peaceful. You can see birds and dead trees if it's the winter time, and hearing the flow of the river. The river being a place where one can go if they're feeling emotionally stressed through personal issues or professional issues. If you're tired of your job, that person is annoying you or something like that, maybe on your break and go out for that walk and you feel much better. And then for some other people, going birding, there's different types of birds that are out there. I don't know the difference. All the birds look the same to me, but some from people who is like an expert at identifying birds, perfect place to do that. But also seeing other different wildlife, like I've seen turtles, deers, frogs. And yes, I've seen those things before, but I really haven't seen those things in person. And so for a person living in Mattapan that's used to this, like living here and haven't had any real close like direction or proximity to like that type of wildlife or those animals, that's really awesome. I know for me, I'm very excited when I'm like, oh shoot, a deer, right? Because I only see that on TV. I never see that in person. And then lastly, I want to say during COVID, a lot of more people are isolated. And because a lot more people are isolated, there's not a lot of places where people can go that's safe, because you want to be safe. And so having that trail there in the Mattapan community, one could just go outside for a walk and they don't need to be with somebody. They can be by themselves and they can see people. And sometimes that's all another person needs, not to feel lonely, especially during a time like COVID.
Shavel'le, I just want to give you a 5-minute warning.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I'm almost done. And so with MFFC, we like to go and beyond to serve our residents. Again, we work for MFFC, we volunteer for MFFC, we're still involved in everything that's happening in the Mattapan community that's not even food and fitness related or health and wellness related. And again, with the example of helping that Edgewater Drive neighborhood association with the walking path, with lowering the wall, with the cleanups, all those things, we like to go and be above and beyond to serve our residents. And so I am ending my presentation now. So thank you, Andres, for giving me that 5-minute warning. We are on social. So here is our social media handles. And then some other extra information. Hopefully I will be able to share the PowerPoint with you so you don't have to worry about screenshotting or writing it down. And then lastly, a quote that I came up with, and it's true to me. It really takes a caring and passionate individuals to make sure the community is good. And probably a lot of people on this call are really community oriented. So I want to say thank you for those who are really caring and passionate, especially during this time, to make sure that all the community residents are doing well.
All right, thank you, Shavel'le. So I think now it's our time for some questions. So if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat and I can read them to Shavel'le. So looks like we already have one there, which is Ron asking, where's the wall and why was it built?
Okay, so that's history that I'm not familiar with, but I will say this, and if anyone else actually knows the history of that wall, like you can like shout it out and say it. But from what so the wall is, so Edgewater Drive is a street in Mattapan. And I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with Mattapan, but if you know where the Church of the Holy Spirit is, or ABCD Head Start is in Mattapan, there's like a fork in the road, and this side goes to River Street, and then you have this side that goes to Edgewater Drive. And Ron, if we could like go in person, I can take you there when it's safe to do so. But I think that wall was built a really, 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 really long time ago. And I don't know the reason why it was built, because it was a really, really, really long time ago. But if somebody actually knows the history of that wall, please feel free to share that history, because I don't know the history of the wall. I just know it was built a long time ago.
It was, yeah, I can quickly talk about it. From what I know, it was built actually in the Great Depression just to give folks jobs back then. It wasn't really used for flood prevention or anything. There's really only been like one time, a long time ago, where the water got high enough to create any flooding in that area. But yeah, it's almost 90 years old at this point, I guess. And it's like Shavel'le said, it's in Edgewater Drive right along the river in Mattapan. And it's covering a humongous open green space away from the community that they really want to get access to. So it's great that Shavel'le and Mattapan and Food and Fitness Coalition are working to try to get it partially removed to get the community closer to the river and access to that green space. Ian asked a question, which is, what's the best way to keep up with events and activities that you may be holding?
So the best way to do that is two ways. So sign up for our listserv, of course, so you can get those emails. We try not to be too spammy with the emails because I know that people will unsubscribe if they get too much. Or you can attend our monthly meetings, which are the second Tuesday of every month. And at those monthly meetings, we have a guest speaker. It could be on anything that's happening in the community, the Mattapan community. It doesn't have to be health and wellness related. Sometimes we talk about housing, sometimes we talk about transportation. So those are the two ways that you can keep up with us in the activities we'll be holding. And again, if I'm able to send that PowerPoint, you can follow us on our social media as well.
Awesome, thanks. A couple more questions just came in. So Sarah asks, have you thought about improving Morton Street? And then she also says that there's a buffer bike lane, but the speed limit is 45 miles per hour, and cars definitely go faster than that. It's a desire line to Franklin Park, Forest Hills, Arnold Arboretum, and more.
Sure. So I will say that because our vision is to make sure that our streets are safe, walkable, and bikeable, of course, and we like to partner with other organizations who are really focusing on that work. So Livable Streets Alliance, Boston Cyclist Union, because of course that's their mission. Like they really are into that. So getting information from them about how we can help support or how we can support and give information to our residents so they can also support whatever it is that is happening when it comes to the streets in Mattapan. An example of us doing that, not directly related to improving Morton Street, but for the Cummins Highway project that a lot of community residents are not excited about, hosting the city at our local farmers market so people have the opportunity to talk about what it is that they would like to see. So yes, I've heard about improving the Morton Street area. I'm pretty sure that's probably going to happen, but partnering with local organizations who actually do that work to support them on that.
Awesome, thanks. Declan asks, what strategies did you use to build support for the Mattapan section of the Greenway? How did you put pressure on the parties involved to push them to complete the section of the path?
Okay. So I'm going to admit, when this work was happening, I was 17 years old. So I was just attending the meetings at that time. And when you're 17, sometimes you're not really aware of what's really happening and the importance of that. But for the 10 or 11 years that I've been through with Mattapan Food Fitness Coalition, the strategies that I've seen pre-COVID is doing that word of mouth. That is something that we do really well. So inviting our neighbors, peers, friends, and family to community meetings that were happening around the building of the Neponset River Greenway, being a part of the Neponset River Greenway Council, and gardening support from there as well. I know with our young people, before the trail was built and BNAN was still alive, so Boston Natural Areas Network, we used to go for walks behind there. So we can see what the trail could possibly be when it was in the works, going snowshoeing behind there as well. So those are some of the individual level type things that we've done. How did you put pressure on the parties involved to push them to complete this section of the project? I think being really consistent, showing up at the meetings, being honest about what the trail would really mean, especially to those who didn't want the trail, especially to those who didn't want our communities to be connected. I know I'm not really answering the question really well, but I think those are some of the strategies that I'm aware of that were used. Again, I was 17, I wasn't really paying attention much to what was going on with the trail.
I think that's a good answer, though. I think that you guys were very consistent with your meetings from what I've heard, and also working a lot with local politicians to push DCR and other folks that, like you said, it's a really important trail to have in your community. You guys deserve it and needed it, and it's awesome that it was able to actually come to fruition and connect with the other sections of the trail. So That was great. Ian asked two more questions. One, is the listserv sign up on your website?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it is. It should be on the homepage.
Okay. And actually, what is your website? So I can just put it in the chat.
Sure. So it's mattapanfoodandfit.org.
Awesome. I'll add that in 1 second. And then Ian also asks, sounds like you do a lot of work with volunteers. Are there a particular kind of volunteer role that you are looking for? And how would someone find out more about your volunteer opportunities?
Thank you, Ian. You're asking a lot of good questions. So yes, we do a lot of work with volunteers. I was a volunteer before I became the ED, and we are looking for a lot of volunteer roles right now where we are discussing what it is that we want to do for the upcoming 2021 year because there's a lot of uncertainty. So some volunteer roles that we're looking for is mostly to help us with the planning of our activities. So with the farmers market, our Mattapan on Wheels biking events, our Mattapan walks. Sometimes we have physical fitness classes, so helping to coordinate those. So some of those are some of the things that we would love help with. Also with the marketing and getting the word out about the events that we do and the programs and services that we provide. Definitely need help with that. And how someone would be able to find out more about volunteering is you can connect with me. I am working on having a streamlined way where people can see like what it is that we need help with, and then be able to sign up electronically. But for now, you all could reach out to me about your interest, and I can just let you know what we're looking for.
Awesome, thanks. It sounds like there's some good opportunities to partner with the Neponset River Greenway Council and also with the Neponset River Watershed Association. So that's awesome. All right, does anyone have any last minute questions before we wrap up for the day? All right. So before we go, I just want to remind folks. Come on, there we go. We just want to thank Clay Subaru again of Norwood for sponsoring Watershed Wednesday. Again, this recording of the session will be available in 24 hours on the front page of the NEPRA website. So feel free to share this recording when it goes up. Please visit neponset.org to learn more about, there we go. Please visit neponset.org to learn more about NEPRA, and also go to mattapanfoodandfit.org to learn more about MFFC. And then also keep your eye out for our next Watershed Wednesday presentation, which is going to be on January 13th, where Declan will be talking about this year's water quality summary from 2020. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you again, Shavel'le, for presenting, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Bye, everyone.